Welcome, everyone. Today's going to be an unusual broadcast. We're going to be working through some content that will be unique and new to you. We are on part 2 of why 80% of the words on our web pages are wrong. Last week, we explored a story around an Austrian athlete and how she used key psychological concepts to survive an assault. We translated those concepts into our messaging and the principles that go with it. But for now, I want to start by showing you an expert at communication, perhaps one of the most powerful communicators on planet Earth. And to do that, I'm going to ask my executive producer to run in here and deliver this communicator. You don't want to miss this, so take a look.
I'll just have you know we have to charge.
Yes, yeah, I'm going to get charged, he said, for this. This is Cliff Rayner. He oversees our entire program, and he's also my best friend. We've worked together for
40 years?
40 years, literally. Every job, every place I've been, every company I've run. And this is Cliff's new puppy, which he got from my family. I have a Belgian Mal that bred with a Catahoula leopard hound. And they're both remarkable dogs. The Belgian is a canine and highly trained, and this is a puppy. Kind of hard to see against the dark. I think I'm going to walk over on the board and show you this puppy. There's a reason for this. It's more than a shameless plug for viewers. It is because studies indicate that these breeds are so powerful in their form of communication, likely for 2 reasons. They can read your face better than a chimpanzee. I could tell you the research. There was a study. They hid food behind a glass wall, and then as the chimpanzee looked for it, someone on this side would make facial expressions. They discovered that, for instance, a Belgian Mal was far more effective at reading a face than even a chimp. The other thing about a dog that's remarkable is their sensitivity to tone. Now, my head's getting cut off, but there's the yawning puppy, and I wish you could see how clearly his eyes communicate. Anybody that's looked in a puppy's eyes before realizes that there's something magical about what they tend to say. It's as if you could read their mind by looking in their eyes. So this ability to read body language and this ability to understand tone is at the foundation of a dog's ability to connect with a human being. I'm going to pass this back to Cliff. By the way, this puppy's name is Kane, and he's how old now? 5 weeks?
No, he's almost 8.
He's almost 8 weeks. Yes. He's licking my thumb right now.
I think he'd be 8 on the floor.
All right, here you go, buddy.
Thanks, man. Hey, buddy. Come on, man.
Now, if you're joining us and you're saying, how do puppies have anything to do with what we're going to learn today? They truly do. And to help you understand the connection, I want to compare the puppy to something else. I'm holding up something now. Tell me what this is. If you recognize it, use Sean says clickbait. Take a look at this bottle and tell me what I'm holding up. If you have an idea, go ahead and use the chat. For those of you just joining us and perhaps not familiar with our methodology here, I'm looking at all these chats coming in on a huge monitor here, and then I'm in our studio. There's monitors all around me. And if you're not quite sure what this is, there it is. I'm going to hold up something else. Take a look at this bottle. And somebody says head balm from 1880. I'll try that. Maybe it'll work. Grow hair. All right. So this one is called Manalin, MAN-A-Lin. And it's an excellent remedy for constipation. It has gentle action on the kidneys, liver, and bowels. It's $1 per bottle at the Purina Company. It also helps the many ailments resulting therefrom. Useful in overcoming colds and headaches, requiring a laxative to dispel them. And it goes on with interesting directions and more powerful claims in multiple languages. I'm holding up another one right here. And this one is much smaller. It's called Poison Diamond Antiseptics. It's from Eli Lilly, and it goes back, I don't know how long. It's very, very old. You can see it here as well. And finally, I'll show you something else that connects closely with this. Here in this very sophisticated packaging, Apple was not the first to think about packaging in a creative way. This box contains a very special kind of syrup, Dr. Clark Johnson's syrup. known for 40 years as Dr. Clark Johnson's Indian blood syrup. For those of you that are looking for Indian blood syrup, I have perhaps one of the last bottles in the country. And it invigorates the liver, tones the stomach, and it regulates the bowels. That's it. There's more and all sorts of additional claims on here. And it's, by the way, priced at a convenient $1 per bottle. I'm going to take it. I'm going to sit down here, and all of you are probably realizing there's a pattern in this opening, and that is that these bottles represent something we often call in a general category as snake oil. We sometimes think that, they're funny and hardly credible, but we don't realize the economics of the snake oil business in the 1800s. Nor do we realize that people are still selling snake oil today and making money doing it. I'm going to ignore some of the drugs put out by some of the pharmaceuticals with that claim and actually go to something called Miracle 2, Miracle Neutralizer. This you can buy now. It is the total body biodegradable pH supernaturally balanced. And it says on the back, rejoice, you have purchased a Miracle 2 product, the most complex mixture of complex natural minerals and organics that has ever been blended together. Miracle 2 is a spiritual revealed formulated product. Did you get that? Spiritual revealed, not spiritually revealed, I'm not sure what that means, but spiritual revealed formulated product. And it goes on. And there's one funny sort of comment at the bottom of the bottle on the back, way down low here. It says mild, sudsless soap. You got to read a lot of miracle language before you get to that line. And yet, people are buying this. Now, why am I sharing it with you? Because it represents a time in history when mass media was beginning to develop. And in the earliest days, you could make lots of claims that people would trust. And over time, we've become jaded as consumers. And this creates a unique challenge, and it connects to the theme of what we've been talking about, which is why 80% of the words on our web pages are wrong. Now, you think about that for just a moment, and I want to actually take you to an article I wrote more than 20 years ago. And this article is called Transparent Marketing. Austin, to my right, is going to give you a link to it. It's free. I was paid $1 a word to write this article 20-some years ago, and then it went viral all over the world, translated to many languages, and some of the key quotes have been lifted and used everywhere. But I want to tell you what the foundation of the article is about, because it's going to connect closely to what we do today. And I'll also point out for you, if you look on my board, I have excerpts. These are blown up sections of copy from web pages submitted by my audience. And we're going to study the copy together. We're going to diagram it together, and we're going to learn 6 deadly errors. But stay with me. Before I get there, let me tell you how I began to study and think about these errors. 20-some years ago, I tried to take an ad that ran in as late as 1912. In fact, the ad ran in a newspaper in Pennsylvania. I want to read the ad. Modoc oil, the greatest medicine on earth. It has no equal. It relieves all pain instantly. Toothache in 1 minute. Headache in 1 minute. Earache in 10 minutes. Sore throat in 1 night. Neuralgia in from 3 to 5 minutes. Modoc oil can be used internally as well as externally, without the least danger. It has never been known to injure anyone young or old. One of the most valuable properties of this oil is its adaptability in painful diseases of children. And on it goes. It says, should your babe show any symptoms of pain in the stomach or bowels, wet immediately a flannel cloth and lay it on the seat of pain. Relief will certainly follow in less than 10 minutes. Modoc oil, here's the sum, is a sure and speedy cure. Every family should have a bottle within reach. It is, I like this line, a doctor in a house. I think I might have worked out a doctor in a bottle, but it's a pretty good piece of copy. if everyone is gullible. And let me tell you, you might look at that and say, well, that's nonsense. I'm going to take this little bit from the article. Get this. In 1885, the demand was so strong that the Oregon Indian Medicine Company had to build a new plant encompassing an entire city block of Corry, Pennsylvania. As late as 1912, the company was still in full production. The researchers in my group decided that what we would do is take the original ad and try to rerun it and see if we got any response. Well, I can tell you right now, not only did we get no response, we got into all sorts of difficulties just getting the ad, trying to get the ad to run. The newspaper refused. But it wasn't so long ago when newspapers were running these ads everywhere. What's happened? What's changed? What's going on? 20 years ago, I wrote a piece called Transparent Marketing. It argued that with the advent and growth of the internet, the consumer is being empowered to make judgment calls. I'm going to need that later, but not now, that last page of that article. Judgment calls. And that with the information age unfolding, if we did not learn how to talk in such a way as to build trust, we were going to lose opportunity. Now I look all around us, and the marketplace is full of noise. There's far more noise than meaning. So our time today is designed to address that challenge on your own web pages, in your own collateral. How can we write copy that changes conclusions and thus decisions and thus behavior? This all connects to what we taught last week. If you haven't seen last week, be sure and watch it. These two go together very tightly. Now, it's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting to read that copy because today our copy is not much better. Yes, we don't make claims like that could get us put in jail, but we make broad, wild, unsubstantiated claims. We employ hype. Now, I think we all agree with that, but the problem is, how do we spot it in our own work? What principles can we learn? We're going to learn 6. We may get to all of them today or not. I don't know. I am more interested in making certain my audience is connecting with what I'm saying. But what I will do first is take you through another research experiment and then drill down on the copy I have on my whiteboard, working with you to apply these principles and to discover where those errors are being committed. Are you with me? All right. So follow now as I take you to a quiz. And let's just go here. All right. Option A, option B. All right. I need you to be ready to vote fast. There's a slight delay from my conversation and your response. So you need to vote very fast on A or B, because I'm going to move through a whole series of these, and there's a pattern I want you to detect. You have not seen most of these before. This is not the 10 headline experiment I've used in the past. This is from a whole series of tests drawn from our library. We have, I think, the largest library in the world of these types of experiments. We built the first behavioral research laboratory to use the internet as our primary, you might say, research field or research community or research canvas, but the internet enabled us to track millions of decisions in real time. Never before was that possible in history. We used it to pattern decision processes and eventually try to answer one question. 30 years I've been trying to answer it. Why do people say yes? Given a set of options, why? All right, here comes your votes. I see A, I see B. Good, vote, vote. I want you to vote very fast on each of these, and I'm going to move rapidly. Here we go. About the GLS, and you see option B. Option B is up 16%. Good call. Why trade? There's a volume button coming up on this screen. Why trade Forex with forextrading.com? Or get your free, no risk, no obligation. How many of you already know from previous learning why that second one is better? And let's just see if it's right. 99% difference. Did you hear that? 99% difference. Let's keep going. Why do 10,000 event planners choose Reg Online? Look at the next headline. Let your events manage themselves. Vote, vote, vote. Vote very quickly. So this is the third one. Let me see your votes come in. Good, good. I see an A, a B, an A. Sanket says A. Nate says B. Joshua says B. Barry says B. Onsis says A. All right, here we go. Let's look at the numbers. B produced a 90% difference in response. Let's keep going. Get unlimited access. Boy, I remember this experiment. You know, this most of you are going to get this one right. Why try Britannic Online? Which one is the winner? Let me see your notes. I see A. I've taught you a lot about point first and what I call customer-centric logic. You can learn that in a previous YouTube piece on headlines. I'd recommend you watch that. If you don't, just get it in the playlist. But I want to tell you right now that what you see on your right is a classic cop-out for not knowing what to put at the top of your page, so you ask a question. I did not come to your page to be asked a question. I came to your page to get an answer. And you can see the difference in response. That doubled revenue. You hear me? It wasn't just this. This was part of a broader hypothesis change in all of the copy. The headline changed and the copy changed on the page. The offer did not. But with the copy changes we made, boom, we doubled revenue in that experiment. Now, let's keep going. Simplifying Medicare for You. This is one we ran recently with one of the largest insurance companies in the world, and then we're here to help. This is a little harder one. Which one? You think A or B? Give me your best thinking. A or B? I see A from 2. I appreciate you guys being brave. All right, I see A. There's a lot of A's here, all right? All right, let's go. A is 16% up. Excellent. Now let's go here. Let's go to this next one. Whoa. Look at this, 638%. This was an entire copy package change, changing the tone and changing the approach and eliminating those deadly errors that we're going to talk about later. Let's look at another one. Now, here's what I want to do. We're running out of time to keep doing this because I want to teach you. So I want you to just put on your seatbelt, sit back and watch while I take you through a dozen more of these. I want you to see the difference and the increase. Many of these are from experiments we've never shared with the public before. And so by watching them and seeing a pattern, it'll make more sense today when we start tearing down the web pages that you've actually submitted to us. So let's go with these quickly. You don't have to vote, but you're welcome to. All right. Get the Ferguson updates. 120% increase over the option. All right. Here's another one. Have the newspaper, that newspaper box piece, that's the name of the newspaper, waiting for you at your door. And then save 50%, 24% increase. Get relief for your weekly migraines. And then chronic migraine treatment, a long-term solution. Which one is better? A. Did you see the number? 331%. That's stunning. Let's keep going. Complete the form below to start receiving your AAF Smart Brief. And then look at this other one. Sign up for the daily updates and analysis on top stories in the advertising industry. Free. 816. Did you see that? 816%. All right, now, I would like to talk about how to beat the headline that won because there's something wrong with the front of that headline. Drill down on that. If you can think of what it is, go ahead and submit that in the chat feature. The first 3 words could be improved and the result go up even more. But let's keep going. Receive a no obligation quote or a free life insurance guide. Look at B. Protect your family with affordable term life insurance. This one's worth voting on. I mean, this is a little tricky. It's not obvious. Someone says B. Nate, that's a good call on the previous headline. But Juan says B. Who thinks it's A? This is hard. I wouldn't expect you to know instantly. All right, I see a B from Joshua, and Exclusive Media says an A, and Luke Flynn says a B, and 2 Travel says A. Let's take a look. Whoa. Isn't that amazing, the difference, though? Something magical's happening here. Something that feels like voodoo or a superpower. Marketing is a superpower. Marketing is an elegant force that can transform the world. Last week, we saw how it was used to save a life. One day, I want to call all of you joining this community to help me save lives with marketing. It's coming. There's a method to our madness. There's a reason I'm inviting you on this journey with us. But ultimately, I think there's a way for us all to team up and impact the world dramatically using the power of psychology and neuroscience to shift conclusions and thus decisions and thus behavior. And if we do that in the right way, we can help millions of people. Stay with me. Free access to over 7 million annual reports. Boy, those are very similar. Free access to over 7 million SEC filings. What's the difference? 26%. What's this? We can help you lower your payments by up to 50%. Look at this. Lower your payments by up to 50%. It's so obvious which one is wrong there. You should instantly know which one is wrong, and you should instantly know why. The one on the right, look at this. It's the same message. Do you hear me? It's the same thing. But we made a huge and important change in the actual direction of the language. The second one implies a value to you. The first one, the we can, starts with me, and that is one of our 6 deadly errors. We'll come back to that as we teach later today. You can't be too careful. Here's another one. Boom. 330% increase. Now, in clearness, it wasn't just this. Each one of these are kernels of copy that represent the entire shift in the copy approach. We're going to learn about that shift in a few minutes. So it wasn't one phrase that got that 330%, just to be clear. But that's a real increase. And by the way, that's a revenue increase for a company in Canada. Let's keep going. Enjoy 14 days of unlimited access to both Universal Studios and Universal Islands of Adventure. And then look at the other one. Which one is right? Top, first one, 26%. You know what? I got more of these, and I'm just going to pop through them. I'm not even going to say them. I don't have time, but look at all the differences. Look at the increases. Just look at the whole slide. You can see the winners over the losers, and sometimes there's a very tiny difference, but the difference is important because it's not about words. It's about what's happening in the mind. And so the words are just handles for concepts. We have to get those concepts identified and delivered in the right order. All right? Look, I have more. I'm going to stop with this slide. Just look at all these. Look at that. We've done this. This was interesting for a foundation. You can see it, look, Powerball, headlines and newspapers. Look how different all of these headlines are. And yet there is a familiar pattern in the winners. And that is what's going to drive our time together today. All right? So, are you ready to learn these 6 deadly errors? And do you want to try to unpack them in a natural way? I have not analyzed the text that we're going to do together. I simply had Dan, our editor, take 2 of the web pages that were presented to us. Working with my staff, we had a designer blow them up, print them on a large format printer. These are 2 separate websites, so we can analyze 2 types of copy together. And as we analyze them, I'm going to start to teach across these 6, we call them, deadly errors. And they are deadly. You can see that in the metrics that we just reviewed for those experiments. I mean, wow. Why should we settle for half the money we could be making by simply changing the orientation of our copy? Why should we do less? There's something powerful to learn together here. And what I'd like to do is, Austin, pull up the web page that this belongs on. So this web page was submitted to us, and we're going to show it to you. There it is. Okay, where HR leaders learn to be HR heroes. Become an HR hero. I'd love to fix that right there. I like that. It's got the right idea. It's focused on the person, but it's absolutely wrong because it doesn't convey enough meaning. I do not know what it means for me to become an HR hero. I do not know the jump in what we call from the actual word to the implied meaning. If you could measure it like you'd measure the length of a line, it's too wide a jump. So it's costing you attention at the top of the page. In a subsequent session, I'm going to teach you about the attention bank. The attention bank, it may be even next week, has deposits that are made in it based on the words and the way you lay those words out. And you are trying to earn a high deposit in the attention bank so you can spend it on the understanding of the value proposition. At the top of the page and in the ad coming into the page is where you start to put money in the attention bank. We'll talk about that. But many of us are trying to do too much without building enough equity in the attention bank. And so essentially our attention balance is bankrupt. So let's drill down on this page and let's start to learn some of these principles. Now, I have one slide with all of these. I also have our producers are going to pull up on the screen key ones as I teach them. But first, we're just going to look at this copy together, and I'm going to switch to hope I get the right marker for this. I'm not supposed to write on my whiteboard with this. I have a terrible habit of doing that. This is a Sharpie, but I'm going to start right here. Okay, so let's put all of our attention right here. And then I want you to think about this sentence. So let's read it one time. All right? It's important that you absorb it. To really learn with me now, you're going to have to think with me. If you just watch me, I'm failing. I'm failing because my goal is not to entertain you. My goal is not to impress you. Coming away thinking, wow, those people at Meclabs are clever, doesn't help you at all. If I do this job right, I'm going to engage you in such a way as there are sort of shifts in your thinking taking place and key lessons being absorbed. And to do that, there's a sort of psychology to the teaching, just like there is a psychology to the web page. We spend much time thinking about that craft and how to utilize it to help you come away with the most from our time together. And by the way, if this is making sense and if you like it, please hit that like button and hit the subscribe button. And please share this with a friend. We're trying to build a community. Once that community is at the right place, and I'm talking about our YouTube community. I don't know how much you know about our overall brands, but we have about 1.2 million marketers in our broader community. But I'm looking for a very active, engaged set based on this new YouTube program that will allow us to do something meaningful in the world soon. When that community reaches a certain number, we're going to surprise you with an opportunity to make a huge difference with your marketing skills. But for now, just take a look here. All right, so I'm gonna ask you to look at this. I'll read it, and then I'm gonna ask you to think about this question. So think about it now in advance. What's the subject and what's the predicate? Just get ready to answer that. Go back to grammar. What's our subject? What's our predicate? In fact, I'm gonna try not to get these pins put up, but let's get the subject down on this first left piece, and let's understand the predicate in it also, okay? So, I'm going to start with when identifying areas of risk or non-compliance in your employment decision, you want to work with established professionals that have years of experience in business management, HR management, and consulting. This is the paragraph. What is the subject? Someone use your chat feature and tell me, what is the subject? I want you to give me the subject in one word and the predicate in one word. And you, almost, Sean, you got the first one right. You is correct. What's the predicate? It'll be a verb, you and want. That's right, David. Good to see you, David. So right here is the entire encapsulated, whoops, I said it wrong. The entire encapsulated essence. This is the kernel of this sentence. And if you look at it on face value, it's starting with the right thing, you. But what's wrong with that you? Somebody tell me why that you is not even hardly going to be seen or understood. What's wrong with the beginning of this sentence? Ah, David's right. It's in the middle. Now, let's go back up and see something. I'm going to identify the prepositional phrases. I'm going to do that by just putting a line right here around this when piece. So I'm going to draw through it a little bit so you can see it. When, boom, 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 boom. In, here's another prepositional phrase. Now, I want you to notice there's one. We just saw one. Now we have another one. Then you want, there are others right here. Look, with, see this one? And we could talk about this too, but I won't get into that. I'm just going to use this one for a reason. With, and then notice this, that, there's another one, in business management, HR management, consulting. What's going on here, and grammarians, you may disagree with me, but I want to tell you what the first problem with this sentence is. It's hard to understand, and one of the reasons for that is we have stacked prepositional phrases throughout the sentence. Look how big a clause I have to digest before I get to the meat. Here it is. When identifying areas of risk or non-compliance in your employment decision. Do you see how much dross is in the way of getting to the meat? So the first problem we have here is what I would call impersonal language. And there's more to it. But right now, I want you to bear that in mind. Impersonal language. We will put up on the board other things later. Cliff, I won't get into those pieces yet. Just wait before you put those up, because I'm not going to go in order when I'm analyzing. This language is in the way of absolute clarity. Does everybody already start to see that? Now, here's something they're doing right. It's got, theoretically, it looks like it has, it's avoiding another area, which is company-centric logic or me-centric, meaning the marketer and what matters to him. Because they are using the word you. However, no one even gets to that you. It doesn't help that you've got white text, thin, on a black, busy background. You've got a paragraph of text in the form of a sentence. So now you've got this really long sentence. It looks like a super long paragraph. You can't even come up for air and say it. It's got prepositional phrases stacked on top of each other. So I can't get to the meaning. Now, I've mentioned two things already, and I'll just put the subject and predicate, okay? So you, somebody said it right, you, that's a subject, and the predicate is want. Now, already we have a problem. All right, let's review the problems together. First of all, we have stacked prepositional phrases. Secondly, we have long clauses in the way of the core meaning. Thirdly, we have, because of that, the main point in the middle. And we've taught that in other places about point first, point last, and point middle sentences. The worst of the two is point middle. Now, I'm going to take you to another problem with this, okay? You want something else is starting to go wrong here. Okay, if I get through all of this unnecessary, superfluous, redundant, annoying dross down to the kernel of the thought, what happens next? Well, you have moved to another one of these deadly errors. And that is, it's an untrustworthy tone. I see this all the time. You can say, wait a second. What do you mean that's untrustworthy? I don't see a lot of hype. No, I'll tell you why it's untrustworthy. I don't know you, you don't know me, and you start by telling me what I want. I say this gently. Forgive me, you censors. How the hell do you know what I really want? And who are you to tell me what I want? And why should I listen to another word that comes out of your mouth? Now, marketer, if you submitted this page, this isn't me attacking you. This is the customer. I'm on your side. I want to help you. But what I want you to understand is a customer, if they get to that, you've already turned me, you've sort of turned my receptor off. The most important part of any communication is getting the receptor prepared to receive. Like, let's suppose David's on the phone. David, let's suppose I go to my phone to call you. I know David, he's my friend now. I met him through YouTube, but now he's my friend. And Sean's a friend of mine that's on here now. Sean or David, let's suppose I go to call you. If I sit by my phone and I yell at the top of my lungs, I don't think you're going to hear me or get my message. Now, David, what if you're supposed to do something for me? And what if I sit by the phone and yell at the top of my lungs? Is it right for me to blame you that you don't do the thing I want you to do when I haven't properly communicated? It's incumbent, and I wrote a thesis on this in grad school. It's incumbent on the communicator to communicate in such a way as the message can be received. So until I pick up the phone and get your receiver ready, i.e., you actually call it on the phone, the receiver. Until you have that receiver to your ear, doesn't matter what I say. Now, I want to tell you, that may seem like a stretch of a metaphor, but it is absolutely not. That's exactly the problem here. Nothing in these initial words open up or turn on my receiver. And then when I finally get to the meat of the sentence, if I work hard and wade through it, I got another problem. And that is, you start by turning my receiver way off by telling me what I want. if you know what I want, then change this entire paragraph around and start with what I want. Start with it in a clear way and tell me how to get it. And further than that, I don't want the solution on the home page. I want to make a decision on the home page, so I only need enough in the thought sequence to move me to the next step. Don't try to sell me on your whole product, or your whole solution, when really you must sell me one micro yes at a time forward into the place where I'm ready to understand and invest in the value proposition of your solution. All right. So, is this making sense? Give me feedback. Is this helping you? Because I want to move to the middle paragraph, but I want to point out right now that here's another problem. We got 3 voices talking at the same time. What does that mean? I mean, if I were to get up here right now and Austin were to stand right beside me, and we were to bring Cliff back in here and he's to stand right beside me, and then all 3 of us start talking at the same time to you, how would you get any meaning? You'd be trying to figure out who to focus on. That's what's going on right here. 3 voices talking at the same time. We don't know if it's 3 different, because the way it's laid out, is that like 3 products? Is that like three different prospect types they're appealing to? Does this connect to this? Because the arrow goes this way. You'll see this arrow down here? It's pointing this way. But over here, I've got a call to action that way. So do I read this and somehow do something this direction? Or like, where do I put my attention? You're trying to buy attention at this step, at this stage in the thought sequence. And right now, you're making it so hard for me to focus. I got to focus before I hear. And if I happen to focus, it's really hard to hear what you're trying to say because you've buried it here. All right. Now, every one of us, the power of what we're trying to do here is look at real pages that you can take and use to learn and apply to your own. But there's principles here. And I'm really employing a group of 6 of them. I want to review the 3 that we've talked about right now. Me-centric structure. We've talked about vague claims. That's just what we got going on in here. And impersonal language. We've also got that. This is very abstract. There's no connection. And we've also seen, I think, untrustworthy tone because of this want piece. And Cliff, I'll tell you what to do. As I'm teaching, go ahead. I'm talking to my producer. As I'm teaching, go ahead and bring up those 6 at some point, just in any order, to let them see what all 6 are. And as they come through, you know, we'll let, oh, you got to, man, he's got them all. He's smart. I didn't even know he had him a screen with all of them. There are the 6 things we're going to study. Cliff, can you just leave that up for a little while we go to the middle? I think it'd be helpful just to look at it. It covers up part of my body, which is obviously a plus. And I'm going to move over here to this middle piece and just talk for a second. We'll go full screen, but not yet. Let me read the middle piece. Through our proprietary approach, whoa, you should see errors right there. By the way, what's it starting with? Somebody tell me what the first word is. What part of speech is this? See that? What part of speech is that? Somebody tell me. Through. We are with you. Through. What is that word through? It certainly is me-centric. This piece we is completely me-centric, and our is me-centric. So there's one of the errors. You see it over there. Me-centric structure. But the word through, just to go back to what we learned earlier, is what? It's a prepositional phrase. And what's happening is we're doing the same thing we did here. We're starting with fuzzy communication. Through, what's our next word? Do we have any meaning yet? Let's just start. Through. Does that mean anything to you? No. Our. Does that mean anything to me? Nothing positive. That's bad too. So let's cut much through. Let's move through our. Proprietary. What the hell are you trying to say to me? Why do I need this big word and I still don't know anything yet? I've invested in a whole line and I know nothing. Through our proprietary approach. Vague, 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 vague. We call that vague claims. Through our proprietary approach and systems. In case it wasn't vague enough, we're going to compound it. We'll add the word and we'll add the word systems. So far, I've invested 2 lines of the paragraph, and that's after wading through a completely meaningless headline. We are with you. Here's how to test that headline. Let's take it off of this business site, this website, and let's think about all the places we could put this on. We could put this on a travel agent site. We could put this on a SaaS software solution in almost any industry. We could put this on a professional personal trainer, coach's site. We could put this, do you get what's going on here? You can always tell when it's meaningless because it's a phrase that you can slap onto many different things, and thus it's so general, it's almost diluted to zero in terms of true, meaningful utility for the person trying to absorb the communication. When you are the communicator, which you are here, it's incumbent on you to get my receiver turned on and then communicate in a way that I can understand. Let's go back to David Carrier and Sean Hoffman. Sean, if I called you, and let's suppose I did something a little bit different. Let's suppose I picked up the phone, called you, you have the receiver, now the receiver's on, so my next communication comes pouring over the phone. But let's suppose I speak in Koine Greek. It's a language I studied years ago. So suppose I speak in Koine Greek or classical Greek. Unless you understand that language, is this helping? Yes, your receiver's on. That is, technically, the phone is in your ear, but your mental receiver is starting to shut down because I'm speaking to you in words that have no particular meaning or relevance to you. So once you get the receiver on, you better get the language right. And the point I want to point out for you now is through our proprietary approach and systems, all you're doing is turning off my receiver. You've started with a prepositional phrase. I got the same mess that I had before. Our professional expert helps you. Wait a second, let's go back here. Let's start over again. Where's the subject? Let's go full screen, Cliff. Or I guess you already are. Where's the subject? Helps you to be confident and consistent as a decision maker. Here comes more prepositional phrases. By ensuring your company's employment messages and actions align with the organization's goals. Does anybody know what I just read? Does anybody care about what I just read? Does anybody believe that's going to make you want to go to the next step? Cliff, let's go full screen on those. Actually, let's go to those errors again. Pull all of the errors up, if you will, at one screen for them. And let's just look at this. All right, is there a me-centric structure? Totally. We. And let's go to the next one. Is there qualitative modifiers? What is that? That's when you say things that can't be proven. They're vague, and a modifier is your adjectives or your adverbs. And in a way, although your teacher might not say this in school, a prepositional phrase also is a way to modify, to add additional meaning. So let's go back over here for a second. Our proprietor, there's the first modifier. Would anybody agree with me that that is that's a poor qualitative modifier? You're telling me it's proprietary. I have no idea what that really means to me and why that matters. It's not specified. There's no, 4,643 products or 27 years in business. It doesn't give me any sort of quantitative understanding, and it's irrelevant, and it's vague. It's vague. So we have vague claims. How many of you can tell without me having to teach that language is completely impersonal? Totally impersonal. And then untrustworthy tone. Now here's the thing they're doing right. They're not coming at me with a bunch of overblown hype comments, but this translates into untrustworthy because it's meaningless, because you're disappointing, because you're filling the trust trial, because I invested my attention and now you're disappointing that investment, which means I don't trust what you want me to do next. So through our proprietary approach and systems, our professional expert helps you to be confident and consistent. My God, that's so much text before I even understand where the sentence is going. I spent this past week with a really interesting man. He produced iRobot. He was executive producer. He produced Catch Me If You Can. Steven Spielberg directed. And we were talking about the value proposition and its relationship to film and some of my research in that area. And he knows, as a top shelf producer, the power of something writers call story click. Story click happens when you come into the theater, you're trying to make sense of what you're seeing. Maybe you're curious, it turns into suspense, and then you sort of realize, oh, this is what the movie's about. The hero's trying to solve this problem. You get a sense of the plot kernel and the direction of the film. You don't always know that in the beginning. Some never resolve it. One of the great film disasters of all time was something called Jacob's Ladder. And they played with the audience, disappointed the audience, fooled the audience, and just made people angry. Story click's very important in every film. Now, come here. Go back to here. Where is my story click? Through our proprietary, still no story click. Approach and system, still no story click. Our professional experts, bragging on your people, vague modifier professional, helps you be confident. and consistent. So the subject is expert helps. Subject is expert, helps is the predicate. Now, help me what? To be confident, that's good, and consistent, right in the middle, point middle, lost on everything, not absorbed, rarely ever read. As a decision maker, what does that mean? By ensuring, another prepositional phrase, your company's employment. I finally get to my company down here. Messages and actions align with your organizational goals. That could have been my goodness, what is that? What does that mean? Does anybody know what the real problem is they solve? How many different solutions are in the marketplace that might help align actions with organizational goals? I mean, it could be a teacher who comes in and teaches the C-suite. It could be a consultant who's looking at your execution and throughput. It could be on and on the list goes. It could be software that allows the entire company to understand and relate to the company's objectives and goals and quarterly. You could slap this text anywhere, and it's pretty useless. All right, marketer, now it's your turn. Hopefully you're starting to follow what's going on, and so what I want to do is take you over here. All right, what's wrong with the headline right here? Somebody tell me right now, use this, let's learn. This is where we cash in and learn together. What's wrong with the headline? All right, I'm watching. I know it takes a minute for your chats to come pouring in, but I don't want to do all the thinking now. I need you to think with me so that we can learn together. Okay, it's vague. That's one thing. What else is wrong with it? Let me help you. Is it a complete thought? Remember, headlines should be a complete thought. Is that even a headline? It is not a headline. It's just a noun with a vague modifier. Successful outcome. What does that mean? Where does that go? That could be in anything. That could be in the Olympics. Successful outcome says nothing. Now, you can tell it says nothing because there's no movement. A sentence moves. Life is predication. The molecular unit of all marketing is a sentence. But it's also at the foundation of our ontology as human beings. Existence is predication. I do. Do happens in time, and all the laws of physics start to connect when you start to understand the importance of subject and predicate. So when you're learning marketing, you're actually learning things at the foundation of the universe. And by the way, it connects, I know this seems like a stretch, but it connects tightly with what we're discovering in quantum physics. Philosophy, and psychology, and physics, they're all the same. I know that seems like a huge claim. I'm not going to prove it. I just want to point out that beneath so much of what we hear is something going on in the mind. All I want you to understand is successful outcome is a complete failure in your effort to do anything to serve the person coming to this page. So, tell me what else is wrong, guys. You're doing good. I'll read it. AHRS helps you reduce your financial and legal liabilities. All right, we're starting to say something there. Now, I don't know what AHRS are. Maybe they know that because they've come here. It helps me reduce my financial and legal liabilities. When you first hear that, is that a fostered conclusion or a claim? It's a claim without proof. Elon, you got it. It's just a claim. Marketers, we're not in the claim business. We're in the conclusion business. We foster conclusions. Now you make a claim, but my guard goes up. And so now this is your attempt. Think of it like a boxer. I come to your site. I'm looking for a meeting, but I don't know what kind of hype's coming at me. I don't know what to trust. I'm in a stance. I'm ready. And you make your claim. Now, if you make a conclusion, well, my guard may be completely down. I'm thinking about that. If you help me come to a conclusion, I believe it. I defend the conclusion. But right now, I defend myself against you because you've now put me on the defense. So this is your shot. My hands are up. My guard is up. You're the marketer. Give me a right cross, penetrate my defense, and get into my mind. Here's their best effort at that. Through proven processes. What is a proven process? That empower, another terrible word, you with peace of mind solutions. What in the world is that? I could be buying Medicare. So your one chance at getting that right cross through the defenses that you caused me to put up has been completely wasted on a useless flailing. It's not even a punch. It's an embarrassment. All right. Marketer, please don't hate me if this is your page. I'm talking like a consumer. It's the only way to do this. You got to get into the mind of the customer. Look here, this is a bank. We're running out of time. What time is it right now? How many minutes have I got left? I want you to look at this. This came from another site. Show them the site real quick. And hang in there because I'm going to give you all these deadly errors laid out. And we'll probably turn this into an infographic if you'd like that, all these sessions together into one big sort of single cohesive image when we're all done. Can you show me the web page? There it is. All right, so that came from this web page. Now, by the way, I think there's a piece here called absent transitions. And just to explain that, let me use this page to show that, because I haven't taught that principle yet. There's 6 of these I'm trying to teach you. Scroll down. Scroll down. Would you look at that big fat paragraph? We're going to analyze it. It's right here on the board beside me. But look underneath it. Are those links? Are those buttons? Are those features? All you've done is put a paragraph together, and then you hit me with a bunch. They're not links, by the way. They're not buttons, by the way. They look like buttons. They're icons. And I'm confused. Why? Because you didn't give me a transition. You didn't say, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 10 ways you can benefit from the Anywhere checking account. 1, 2, 3, 4. You didn't lay them out. You gave me no transition. My mind doesn't know how to adapt it, doesn't know what to do with it, doesn't even know what it is. You've lost your chance to make meaning. I'm stressing that because that's one of the 6 I haven't talked about. That's an example of an absent transition. Let's go up to the paragraph. What do we see? What's the first word? This is easier to see too because it's light. What part of speech is that? What part of speech is that? Somebody tell me. I am waiting just for you. I'm going to stand here, stare at the camera, glare at it until somebody gives me a good answer. What part of speech is the word with? Preposition. Thank you, Nick. Now, same problem we had all the way up here. When. This is with. Now, let's see what comes next. The first bank anywhere account. Now, let me ask you a question. A marketer, again, I'm on your side, but I'm playing the jaded consumer. Why the hell do you need to tell me that? You just set it up here. You're wasting my energy, my attention, my eyes. I'm looking at all this and get no meaning, none. You start with a prepositional phrase, and you don't get to me until you're in the middle of the sentence, which means you've got a point middle disaster. Why did you even have to say that? It says it right here. And by the way, it should have a subheader, easing me into the content below, but it doesn't. But let's look at here. You'll have access to a suite of modern. Mark, somebody tell me what this crime is. Cliff, can you pull up the 6 real quick? Leave the chart up, but pull up the 6 if you can. I know you're going to have to back. There you go. Perfect. Take a look at what Cliff's got up. What problem is this word right here? This is a modifier. What's wrong with it? Somebody tell me. Vague. Yes, Nick. It's a vague claim. It's a qualitative modifier. It's at least 2 of the errors. Does anybody know what the difference? Does any bank offer an account that isn't modern? Maybe a postmodern? Maybe a pre-modern? I mean, what's the point of that word? There is no point. It's a waste. Strunk and White would die. They said something about, and there's an argument about whether this is them or Hemingway, but make every sentence tell. Make every word tell. This word is telling nothing. Modern, time-saving. Is that a great word? Time-saving? Let me tell you why it's not to save us time. Because every bank tells you that. Yes, we all want time-saving. But we don't trust you. You charge us now to even go into our branch. And when you tell me time-saving, there's no quantification there. It's vague. It doesn't have any exclusivity. It lacks the essence of the value proposition. Now, for the people who submitted this, I worked with one of the biggest banks in the world, and we launched a new account. I won't say much about it, but it has had record growth year over year for 5 years in a row because we got this part right. We worked exactly on this. In fact, they'd already hired an agency, designed the marketing, shot the television commercials, and we just said, it's all wrong. Let us test it digitally first. We did. The results were so amazing that we shot all of that, and it's been a huge success for years. So in fact, it's growing 25% year over year with no marketing now. Why? Because the essence of the value proposition worked. It was the most successful account launch in their history, according to them. So I look at this and I can see mobile tools, All right, so everybody's got mobile tools. You're not telling me any reason why I should want this account, why it's any better than anybody else's account, and then you start to hit me with words that don't matter. Zelle, biometric, login, Apple Pay. Yeah, Apple needs your help right now. Help them with their brand. I'm not saying there's not a point for that, but that's not the place for it. It does not communicate enough unique value to make this worth my investment and my energy. And by the way, I know banks are regulated. I know that you all have basically the same offers, but that didn't stop us from launching a new account that crushed the competition, because there's a way to do it. And so it is clear here that this is not the way. Now, somewhere down here, always speak with a human. That's interesting. And then I get this vague sort of truism. It's like a piece of folk wisdom. Because good means providing the technology you want and personalized services you deserve. No, that's not what good means. And you never reference good anywhere else in the paragraph. So why are you explaining what good means? I don't see good anywhere. I don't even know why you're explaining a word that hasn't appeared anywhere else in the paragraph. What's going on here is this is a paragraph without, and I'm almost done, rationale. There's no rationale for the logic of the word flow, for the order of the words, for the choice of the words, for the structure of the grammar. And so you waste it, and the only thing getting you by is probably your brand. This has to be completely redone to get the kind of result you're looking for. As Sean says, good is the enemy of great. That's another thing too, yeah. Everybody should be good. Good is just sort of the threshold requirement. You gotta get better than good to even get my attention. Read Peter Thiel on that. I'm out of time, but I want to do this with you real quick. I got two things, so stay with me right to the end. I got something interesting. First, I want to share the 6 points on a slide. Here they are. Just go to the slides, guys. Go full screen on the slide. All right, these are the 6 points. These are 6 problems in our copy. When you want to apply what I'm teaching, you start by underlining the subject, circling the predicate. That's the way I typically do it. Then go back in and mark every modifier, any adjective or adverb. Then start to say, do these words appear in the right order? Are these modifiers quantitative or qualitative? Are they specific? And then as you start to do that, abstract back and feel the entire tone. Look and see if you have proper transitions between what you say now and what you're going to say next. It's one of the greatest mistakes on our websites today. I just reviewed an experiment today with our key leaders in hypothesis development that we just ran. It is right now winning 121%. One of the most important things we did is we got away from those Apple design pages where you stack information on top of each other, and we said there are 5 reasons why, and we spelled the 5 reasons out. We are up 121%. 6 days in, test needs to continue to run. I'm not saying that's what the final number will be. I am saying use transitions. Learn these 6 pieces, and I want to end with this. Give me that report. So I was just reading this article that I wrote so many years ago before I got up here. It was sitting on the podium waiting for me. I didn't even look at it before I got up here because I wrote it. It's just been a long time. And I saw something that I closed the article with. See this little poem? Listen to the wisdom in somebody's poem. Nobody knows who wrote it. It certainly wasn't me, but I like it. And it connects to what we're learning today. And I think it will help you connect to the final thought, and then we'll close right on time. A lion met a tiger as they drank beside a pool. Said the tiger, "Tell me why you're roaring like a fool." "That's not foolish," said the lion, with a twinkle in his eye. "They call me king of all the beasts because I advertise." A rabbit heard them talking, and he ran home like a streak. He thought he'd try the lion's plan, but his roar was just a squeak. A fox who happened on the scene had a fine lunch in the woods. The moral? When you advertise, just be sure you've got the goods. I appreciate that homespun wisdom. I appreciate you. I appreciate your trust. Help us grow a community and make a difference in the world. Thank you.